welcome back to another intellectual video. For those of you that are new to this is basically just an uncut rant of something that I talk about basically. This can be anywhere to film, philosophy, or politics. So, let's talk about something interesting. The meaning of danger in one's life. Pretty simple, right? So let's go over two films in particular that do this pretty well, because I thought I'd bring this up in film, and this movie in particular was brought up recently. Let's talk about, have you heard of the movie called The Sound of Metal? The Sound of Metal is very interesting. It basically comes down to this man that's losing his hearing. He's actually a musician, plays in a very heavy metal group, and essentially he goes deaf. And he has to learn how to cope with it. There's a lot of interesting things. I won't give it away, but in the end, he goes through all the trials and tribulations to try and get his hearing back. It's not perfect, but in the end, after all of it, he realizes that he just doesn't want to hear. He hears everything around him, everything so cluttered and mumbled, because it's not perfect. It's not like it magically appeared. He had to do this electronic version of a very expensive surgery. And after all, in the end of the movie, he just takes it off. He kind of gives up. So I guess the kind of meaning behind this is no meaning at all. His whole life is to push himself to, become an artist, to live with his girlfriend and wife, I think. I don't know, it's been a while since I've seen the movie. And to go through every trial and tribulation to try and better himself in a sense for where he can get his hearing back. He feels as if he wakes up at 5 in the morning, works out, and works his hardest, that he can somehow get his hearing back. Then obviously he does this, and in the end, once he gets it, he rejects this completely. It's a very interesting film. Like I said, I'm breaking down just the very, very basics of it just for the sake of this video. Now, let's jump to another movie. A movie called Summit of the Gods. Summit of the Gods is a very interesting movie, basically because it deals with mountain climbing. If you don't know about mountain climbing, it's very, very dangerous. A lot of people die from it, and there are quite a few deaths in this film, even though it's PG rated. It's animated, and it's a brilliant movie to watch. I strongly recommend it. It's a great movie. So, basically what happens is this news photographer hears about all this different things. This has to do with the camera, but essentially there's this man who tries to go into the mountain, Mount Everest, I believe, and he tries to climb it to the best of his ability, but even though he loses somebody, he loses other people around him, even though I've watched other people die, he continues to go up the mountain and essentially takes a riskier route, and he does all this in the winter. In the end, he basically ends up dying. Spoiler alert for the movie. So, it's really sad, but in the end, it tells us something interesting. See, in the whole monologue in the end, he basically lays out why he's doing this. And the reason comes down to is the feeling of being alive. It comes down to the sheer fact of him just doing it because there's no other possible way to do it. And even in the news report, it describes it as this kind of endless journey. Sort of like a video game in a sense, but with all the danger added to it. Because essentially what he finds out is that it could be endless. Mountain climbing can be endless. So you can take it up the left side, the right side, take it up the harder side, no gear, no oxygen. It basically keeps on going forever and ever. But there's a cost to all this. So, what are the reasons between these two movies? It seems like the first movie is talking about no meaning at all, while the first movie is talking about the meaning of being dangerous. So, what's the through line between these connections? The connection is determination. We highly underestimate this idea in our heads that determination drives us. Now, there are determinations of basic things in life to get your coffee or whatever. But there are determinations in life that can push you to do these things. But there are the differences between how either they reject the message or they embrace it. Like the mountain climber. The mountain climber accepts that this is his determination, his meaning in life, to keep on going, even though it's dangerous. It brings a whole new meaning to meaning itself. It brings, how do I describe this? These movies are great. But Determination drives him, and it should drive you. And even though he can end up being dead, he still continues to push forward anyway. Even though it might be the end of his life, which it ends up killing him, you know? And he tries to justify this in the best way he can. Having said that, Soundamental takes the opposite route. See, after all this determination, even the works of pushing other people away, which does happen in the movie, just for the sake of getting his hearing back, in the end he just rejects it. He realizes that this isn't enough, and that in the end the world is just too noisy, and he'd rather go back to the deaf life, you know. So, overall, these are both great movies. One's on Amazon Prime and one is on Netflix if you want to watch it for yourself. They're excellent films, and I highly encourage it. The topic of determination is maybe something that I'll talk about at a later point, maybe. But the essence of determination really just comes down to what these two films are meaning. So, at the end of the day, I leave the question to you. Are you the mountain climber? Will you seek that determination even to the very end? Will you do it to the very end at all cost? Or are you the Soundamental? You realize that you do this whole time and realize you reject this message of determination, that you don't need it at all. Life is worth living anyway, you know, without determination. Or is life meaning in that determination? Up to you to decide. See you later. Peace.